When Marcus saved a stranger from attackers in a dark New York alley, he had no idea she was a billionaire CEO, or that she'd soon save him right back in ways he never imagined.
Marcus Chen's sneakers pounded against the wet pavement as he hurried through the Manhattan streets, the plastic bag containing Emma's new soccer cleats swinging at his side. It was nearly midnight, and the city that never sleeps was showing its darker face. Shuttered storefronts, scattered trash, and shadows that seemed to move with purpose. He'd worked a double shift at Mount Sinai Hospital, picked Emma up from his mother's apartment in Queens, gotten her to bed, and then discovered the cleats crisis. Being a single dad meant there was no backup, no tag team partner to handle the emergencies that always seemed to happen at the worst possible time. He cut through a side street off Lexington Avenue, a shortcut he'd used 100 times. That's when he heard it, a woman's voice, sharp with fear, cutting through the ambient noise of distant traffic. Marcus's head snapped toward the sound. In the dim glow of a flickering streetlight, he saw 3 men surrounding a woman pressed against a graffitied storefront. One of them yanked at her purse, while another grabbed her arm. The third stood watch, his posture radiating menace. Every instinct screamed at Marcus to keep walking, to not get involved, to think of Emma sleeping safely at home who needed her father to come back in one piece. But the same instinct that made him run toward codes in the hospital instead of away from them kicked in. "Hey," he shouted, his voice carrying across the empty street with more authority than he felt. "Get away from her." The men turned in unison, sizing him up. Marcus was 6'1", but lean, clearly not a fighter, yet he held up his phone, camera pointed at them, his thumb hovering over the screen. "I've got you on video, and the cops are 1 tap away. You want to be on tomorrow's news?" His heart hammered against his ribs, but his hand remained steady. The largest of the 3, a bull of a man with a scarred face, stared at Marcus for what felt like an eternity. Then he spat on the ground and jerked his head toward his companions. "Come on, not worth it." They melted into the shadows of an adjacent alley, their retreat punctuated by muttered curses and the echo of boots on concrete. The woman slumped against the wall, her chest heaving. Then, with visible effort, she straightened, smoothing her expensive wool coat with trembling hands. In the better light of the street lamp, Marcus could see she was younger than he'd first thought. Early 30s, with striking features, dark hair pulled back in a professional bun, and eyes that assessed him with sharp intelligence despite her obvious fear. She was beautiful in that polished, untouchable way that usually graced magazine covers, not midnight street corners. "Thank you," she said, her voice steadier than her hands suggested. "That was incredibly brave. Or incredibly stupid. Possibly both." Marcus exhaled slowly, the adrenaline beginning to ebb. "You okay? Did they hurt you?" She shook her head, clutching her briefcase like a shield. "No, just scared. I've walked these streets 1,000 times and never had a problem. Got complacent, I guess." She managed a weak smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. "Occupational hazard of thinking you're invincible." Marcus noticed her designer shoes, the Cartier watch catching the light, the tailored cut of her clothes that screamed money and power. This wasn't someone who usually found herself in this situation. "Let me call you a car. You shouldn't be out here alone right now." "My driver's waiting 3 blocks over on Park Avenue. I told him I wanted to walk after a late meeting, clear my head." She laughed, the sound brittle. Terrible decision. Marcus glanced back at the alley where the men had disappeared. "I'll walk you there. Make sure you get there safely." She studied him for a long moment, and he could always see her calculating risk versus trust behind those intelligent eyes. Whatever she saw in my face must have satisfied her, because she nodded. "Alexis Reeves," she said, extending her hand. Her grip was firm, despite the tremor. "Marcus Chen." They started walking, Marcus maintaining a respectful distance, his eyes scanning their surroundings. The silence stretched between them for half a block, before Alexis spoke again. "That was either very brave or very foolish, Mr. Chen." Marcus shrugged, adjusting the bag in his hand. "Probably both. I'm a nurse at Mount Sinai. Foolish bravery kinda comes with the territory." "A nurse," she repeated, as if filing the information away in some mental catalog. Her gaze dropped to the plastic bag. "Late night shopping?" He held up the soccer cleats with a rueful smile. 8-year-old daughter. She's got a big game tomorrow morning, and apparently her feet decided to grow 2 sizes this week. Single dad problems.
Something shifted in Alexis's expression, the corporate mask cracking to reveal something softer, more human. "You're a good father, Marcus Chen." "I'm a tired father," he corrected, but warmth spread through his chest at the words. "But I try." When they reached Park Avenue, a sleek black sedan idled at the curb, its driver leaning against the hood. The man's face flooded with relief when he saw Alexis. "Miss Reeves, I was about to come looking for you." "I'm fine, James. Just had a bit of an adventure." She turned to Marcus, pulling a business card from her purse with steady hands now. "I meant what I said. Thank you, if there's ever anything I can do." Marcus glanced at the card. Alexis Reeves, CEO, Reeves Technologies. Recognition hit him like a wave. This was the Alexis Reeves, the 32-year-old tech genius who'd inherited her father's dying company at 25 and transformed it into a billion-dollar empire. He'd read about her in Forbes, seen her on the news, and he'd just walked her to her car like she was anyone else. "Just be more careful," he said, trying to hand the card back. She pressed it into his palm, her fingers lingering for just a moment. "Keep it anyway. The world needs more people who help strangers at midnight." Marcus watched the sedan pull away, its taillights disappearing into the Manhattan night. He tucked the card into his wallet, next to Emma's school photo, and started the long walk back to his apartment. He didn't expect to ever see Alexis Reeves again. In his experience, people like her didn't stay in the orbit of people like him, single dads juggling hospital shifts and parent-teacher conferences. Their worlds had intersected for a brief, dangerous moment, and now they'd returned to their separate lives. That's how these things worked. But as he climbed the stairs to his fourth-floor walk-up, he couldn't quite shake the memory of her eyes, intelligent, vulnerable, and somehow lonely despite all that power and success. He shook his head, unlocking his door as quietly as possible to avoid waking Emma. It didn't matter. Tomorrow he'd go back to his life, and she'd go back to hers. And that would be that.
3 days passed in a blur of routine. Marcus pulled double shifts at the hospital, the nursing shortage meaning everyone was stretched too thin. Emma's team won their soccer game 3-2, with her scoring the winning goal in the final minutes, a moment of pure joy that made every sacrifice worth it. He'd cheered so loud from the sidelines that other parents had stared, but he didn't care. These moments were what mattered, what kept him going through the exhaustion and the loneliness that sometimes crept in during the quiet hours after Emma fell asleep. On Wednesday afternoon, Marcus was charting medications in the ICU when his supervisor, Linda, appeared at his elbow. "Marcus, there's a courier in the lobby asking for you. Says he has a delivery that requires your signature." Marcus frowned, his mind immediately jumping to worst-case scenarios. "A courier? I didn't order anything." Linda shrugged. "Well, she's waiting. Take 5 minutes." Confused, Marcus headed downstairs. A man in a professional uniform stood by the reception desk, holding a sleek envelope. "Marcus Chen? That's me." The courier handed him the envelope and a tablet to sign. "From Miss Reeves. Have a good day, sir." Marcus's fingers trembled slightly as he opened the envelope. Inside were 2 tickets to the U.S. women's national team game at Red Bull Arena, premium seats, he noticed, scanning the details, and a note on heavy cardstock in elegant handwriting. "For Emma. May her team play with half your father's courage. I heard about her winning goal. Congratulations to you both. A.R." Marcus stared at the note, reading it 3 times. How did she know about Emma's game? And tickets like these didn't come cheap. This was too much, too generous for a stranger who'd simply done what any decent person should do. He pulled out his phone and the business card he'd kept in his wallet, studying the embossed numbers. After a moment's hesitation, he dialed. The phone rang twice before a crisp, professional voice answered. "Alexis Reeves' office. This is Sarah speaking." "Hi, my name's Marcus Chen. I was hoping to speak with Miss Reeves." "I'm sorry, Miss Reeves is in meetings all afternoon. May I take a message?" Marcus glanced at the tickets. "Could you tell her that Marcus called to say thank you for the generous gift, but it's too much? I'd like to—" "Mr. Chen?" The voice changed, became warmer. "Miss Reeves left specific instructions. If you called, I was to tell you that it's not too much, it's exactly right, and she won't take no for an answer. She also wanted me to tell you—" Sarah paused, and Marcus could hear papers rustling. "Here it is. Tell him that courage deserves to be celebrated and his daughter deserves to see her heroes play. No arguments." Marcus couldn't help but smile. "She's stubborn, isn't she?" Sarah laughed. "You have no idea, Mr. Chen. Enjoy the game." That Saturday, Marcus and Emma sat in section 114, row 5, with a perfect view of the field. Emma's eyes were wide as saucers as the players warmed up, her hand gripping his arm. "Dad, this is amazing! We're so close! I can see their faces!" Marcus watched his daughter's joy and felt his throat tighten with emotion. When was the last time he'd been able to give her something this special? Working as a nurse paid the bills, but there wasn't much left over for luxuries like premium sports tickets. "Pretty cool, huh?" Emma nodded enthusiastically, then looked up at him with curious eyes. "Your friend must be really nice to give us these." "She's not really my friend," Marcus said carefully. "More like someone I helped once, and she wanted to say thank you." "Mom used to say that when you help people, good things come back to you," Emma said softly. It was the first time she'd mentioned her mother in weeks. Marcus's ex-wife Jennifer had left them 2 years ago, unable to handle the demands of motherhood and marriage. She sent birthday cards and called occasionally, but she'd built a new life in California with a new partner, leaving Marcus to pick up all the pieces. "Your mom was right about that," Marcus said, pulling Emma close. At halftime, Marcus's phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. "I hope you and Emma are enjoying the game. Alexis." He stared at the message. How did she get his number? Then he remembered the courier's signature tablet. He typed a response. "We are. She's having the time of her life. Thank you again. This was incredibly generous." The reply came quickly. "Good. Every child should have moments of pure joy, and every hero should be appreciated. I'm glad I could facilitate both." Marcus hesitated, then typed, "Can I buy you coffee sometime to properly thank you?" The 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Finally, "I'd like that, but only if we split the check. Heroes don't pay for coffee." Marcus smiled at his phone, feeling something stir in his chest that he hadn't felt in a long time. Emma tugged at his sleeve. "Dad, they're starting again." He pocketed his phone and turned his attention back to the field. But throughout the second half, his mind kept drifting to Alexis Reeves and the unexpected connection forming between them. They met the following Tuesday at a small cafe in Chelsea, halfway between the hospital and Reeves Technologies headquarters in the financial district. Marcus arrived first, ordering a simple black coffee and choosing a corner table where they'd have some privacy. He'd changed out of his scrubs into jeans and a clean button-down shirt, suddenly self-conscious about meeting her in a setting that wasn't a dark street or a text message. When Alexis walked through the door, heads turned. She wore tailored black pants and a cream silk blouse, her hair down this time, falling in dark waves around her shoulders. But what struck Marcus most was how she smiled when she saw him, genuine and warm, so different from the corporate photos he'd seen online. "Marcus," she said, sliding into the seat across from him, "thank you for suggesting this." "Thank you for coming. I know you're busy." "Busy is relative. I make time for what matters." She ordered a cappuccino from the hovering waiter, then turned her full attention to Marcus. "So, Emma loved the game?" "Loved doesn't begin to cover it. She's been practicing her moves in the living room ever since, narrating her own play-by-play. The downstairs neighbors probably hate us." Alexis laughed, and the sound did something strange to Marcus's pulse. "I'm glad. I remember being that age, that passionate about something. It's a gift." They talked easily, the conversation flowing from Emma's soccer obsession to Marcus's work at the hospital, to Alexis's latest project, developing AI-assisted diagnostic tools for emergency rooms. Marcus found himself fascinated by the way her eyes lit up when she discussed her work, the genuine passion beneath the corporate exterior. "Most people think tech is cold, impersonal," Alexis said, wrapping her hands around her cup. "But I see it as a way to help people, to solve problems that matter. My father, he started the company to create educational software for kids with learning disabilities. That mission, that purpose is what drives me." "That's beautiful," Marcus said, "and rare. Most CEOs I read about are focused on profit margins and shareholder value." "Oh, I care about those too," Alexis admitted with a wry smile. "I have a board to answer to, investors who expect returns. But if I can't sleep at night because my work isn't making the world better, then what's the point of all that success?" Marcus nodded slowly. "That's exactly how I feel about nursing. The pay isn't great, the hours are brutal, but when you save someone's life or ease their pain, that feeling, there's nothing like it." "We're more alike than it might seem," Alexis said, her gaze holding his. We both chose to help people instead of taking easier paths. The moment stretched between them, charged with something neither wanted to name yet. Then Alexis's phone buzzed. She glanced at it, and Marcus saw her expression shift, the warmth replaced by cool professionalism. "I'm sorry, I have to take this. It's my CFO." "Of course, go ahead." Marcus watched as she transformed before his eyes, her voice crisp and authoritative as she discussed quarterly projections and market positioning. This was the Alexis Reeves the world knew, brilliant, commanding, untouchable. When she hung up, she looked apologetic. "I'm sorry, that was rude. You're running a billion-dollar company. I get it. Still." She checked her watch and sighed. "I have a board meeting in 40 minutes. I should go." They stood, and Marcus walked her outside. On the sidewalk, they faced each other, neither quite ready to end the connection. "Can we do this again? Coffee? Conversation?" "I'd like that. Though I have to warn you, my schedule is pretty chaotic. Single dad, nursing shifts, Emma's activities." "I understand chaos," Alexis said. "I run on about 4 hours of sleep and live out of my calendar. We'll make it work." She hesitated, then stepped closer. "Marcus, I need to be honest about something. I don't do this, connect with people outside my work circle. I don't have time, and frankly, most people want something from me. Money, connections, favors. But you're different. You helped me because it was the right thing to do, not because you knew who I was." "I didn't know who you were," I admitted, "not until I saw your business card." "Exactly." She touched his arm briefly, the contact sending warmth through him. "That's why I want to get to know you better, because you saw me as a person, not a position or a bank account." Marcus understood what she wasn't saying, that loneliness could exist, even at the top, maybe especially at the top. "Same time next week?" "It's a date," Alexis said, then blushed slightly. "I mean, not a date, just a—" Marcus grinned. "I knew what you meant, but for the record, I wouldn't mind if it was a date. Alexis's smile could have lit up the entire street. "Good to know, Marcus Chen. Very good to know." She walked away, and Marcus stood there, coffee cup in hand, watching her disappear into the flow of pedestrian traffic. His phone buzzed, a text from his mother. "Don't forget, Emma has her dentist appointment at 4. I can pick her up from school if you're still at work." Reality rushed back. He had a shift starting in an hour, Emma to think about, bills to pay, a life that was already stretched to its limits. What was he doing, entertaining thoughts of dating someone like Alexis Reeves? Their worlds were too different, the complications too vast. But as he headed towards the subway, Marcus couldn't stop smiling, because for the first time in 2 years, since Jennifer had left and he'd become both mother and father to Emma, he felt something other than exhaustion and responsibility. He felt hope. And maybe, just maybe, that was worth the complications. Over the next month, Marcus and Alexis fell into a rhythm. Coffee turned into dinner, dinner turned into weekend walks through Central Park when their schedules aligned, which wasn't often but was always worth the effort. Marcus learned that Alexis was brilliant, but also funny, with a dry wit that caught him off guard. She learned that Marcus was more than a dedicated father and nurse. He played guitar, loved old movies, and had dreams of maybe going back to school someday to become a nurse practitioner. They existed in a bubble, just the two of them, carefully avoiding the complications that reality would bring. Emma knew about Alexis only as Dad's friend, and Alexis's world knew nothing about Marcus at all. It wasn't sustainable, and they both knew it. The reckoning came on a Saturday in late November. Marcus had arranged for his mother to watch Emma overnight, a rare luxury, and Alexis had invited him to a charity gala her company was sponsoring. "You don't have to go," she'd said when she'd extended the invitation. "It's going to be boring and full of people who'll kiss up to me all night, but I'd really like you there." So Marcus rented a tux, feeling absurdly out of place as he entered the Plaza Hotel ballroom. Crystal chandeliers cast prismatic light across hundreds of guests in designer gowns and bespoke suits. He spotted Alexis across the room, resplendent in midnight blue gown that took his breath away. When she saw him, her face lit up in a way that made every uncomfortable moment worth it. "You came," she said, taking his hand. "Of course I came, though I should warn you, I have no idea which fork to use for what." Alexis laughed. "Start from the outside and work your way in. That's literally the only rule you need." The evening was surreal. Marcus met tech moguls and venture capitalists, senators and celebrities, all while staying by Alexis's side. He noticed how she changed in this environment, still warm with him, but wearing her CEO armor for everyone else. During dinner, seated at a table with her board members and their spouses, Marcus felt the weight of scrutiny. "So, Marcus," said Gerald Whitmore, the silver-haired chairman of the board, "Alexis tells us you're in healthcare." "I'm a nurse at Mount Sinai, ICU primarily." "How admirable," Gerald's wife Patricia said with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Such important work." The condescension was palpable. Marcus felt Alexis's hand find his under the table, squeezing gently. After dinner, she pulled him onto the balcony, away from the crowd. The November air was crisp, her breath visible in small clouds. "I'm sorry about Patricia. She comes from old money and thinks anything that doesn't involve a trust fund isn't worth her time." "It's fine," Marcus said, though it wasn't, not really. "I knew what I was walking into." "Did you?" Alexis challenged. "Because I'm not sure I did." She leaned against the railing, looking out at the glittering cityscape. "I've been in denial, Marcus, about how different our lives are, about the complications, but tonight made it real." "Are you saying this was a mistake?" Marcus asked, his chest tightening. "No," Alexis said quickly, turning to face him. "God, no. You're the best thing that's happened to me in years. But I'm also realistic. I have a company to run, a public image to maintain. My board is already questioning my judgment because I'm young and female. If they think I'm being distracted by a relationship..." "I'm a distraction?" The words came out sharper than Marcus intended. "That's not what I meant." Alexis reached for his hands. "You're not a distraction. You're the one place where I can be myself. Not the CEO, not the prodigy, not the woman who has to be twice as good to get half the credit. With you, I'm just Alexis, and that's precious to me." Marcus softened. "I get it. I do. But I also need to be honest. I have Emma to think about. I can't start something that's going to fall apart and hurt her. She's already been through that with her mother." "I would never hurt Emma," fiercely said Alexis, "or you. But I also can't promise this will be easy. My life is complicated in ways that most people can't understand." "Try me," Marcus said. "I'm tougher than I look." Alexis smiled, sad and hopeful at once. "I know you are. That's why I'm terrified of losing you." They stood there in the cold, the sounds of the gala muffled behind them, two people from different worlds trying to figure out if the connection between them was strong enough to bridge the gap. Finally, Marcus spoke. "What if we take it one day at a time? No grand promises, no expectations beyond being honest with each other. I introduce you to Emma when we're both ready, you deal with your board, and we see where this goes." Alexis nodded slowly. "One day at a time. I can do that." "Good, because I'm not ready to walk away from this. From you." He pulled her close, and when he kissed her, the complications faded, at least for that moment. When they returned to the gala, hands linked, Marcus noticed the stares and whispers. Let him talk, he thought. He'd faced down muggers on a dark street. He could handle judgmental socialites. But as the night wore on, Marcus couldn't shake the feeling that their real challenges were only just beginning.
The article hit 3 weeks later. Marcus was at work when his phone started blowing up with texts from numbers he didn't recognize. He stepped into the break room and pulled up the first link someone had sent. Tech CEO Alexis Reeves dating hospital nurse, a modern Cinderella story. The piece was in page 6, complete with photos from the gala, him and Alexis on the balcony holding hands, the kiss caught by a long-range lens. The tone was mocking, painting Marcus as some kind of opportunist and Alexis as a woman being taken advantage of by someone clearly out of his league. Marcus's hands shook as he read the comments. They ranged from supportive to vicious, with the vicious ones far outnumbering the kind. Gold digger. She could do so much better. He's using her for her money. His phone rang. Alexis. Marcus, I'm so sorry. I don't know how they got those photos. My PR team is working on damage control, but... Damage control? Marcus interrupted. Is that what I am? Damage? No, God, no. But my board is freaking out, and my investors are calling, and... She paused, and he could hear the stress in her breathing. Can we talk? In person? They met at her penthouse that evening. Marcus had never been to her home before. They'd always met in neutral spaces, as if by unspoken agreement to keep their relationship separate from their regular lives. The apartment was stunning. all floor-to-ceiling windows and modern art, but Marcus barely noticed. "The board had an emergency meeting," Alexis said without preamble. "They're concerned about the company's image. Gerald suggested that we cool things for a while, let the media frenzy die down." "And what did you say?" Marcus asked, his voice carefully controlled. "I told them that my personal life was none of their business." Alexis's eyes flashed with defiance. "I told them that you're important to me, and I'm not going to hide that to satisfy some archaic notion of propriety." "But," Marcus could hear the unspoken word. Alexis sank onto the couch, suddenly looking exhausted. "But they're threatening a vote of no confidence. If they think I'm not fit to lead, they can remove me as CEO. It's in the bylaws. My father put it there to protect the company from exactly this kind of personal drama." "Then maybe they're right," Marcus said quietly. "Maybe I am a distraction. Maybe this is too complicated." "Don't," Alexis said sharply. "Don't do that. Don't give them the power to drive us apart." "I'm not giving them power. I'm being realistic. Look at this, Alexis." Marcus gestured around the penthouse. "This is your world. Private elevators, art collections, board meetings. My world is a fourth-floor walk-up, Emma's soccer practice, and trying to figure out how to pay for her college someday. Maybe everyone's right. Maybe we're from different worlds that just don't mix." Alexis stood, anger and pain warring in her expression. "I thought you were different. I thought you didn't care about all that." "I don't care about the money," Marcus shot back, "but I do care about Emma getting harassed at school because her dad is dating someone famous. I care about you losing everything you've worked for because of me. I care about the reality of this situation, not just the fairy tale version we've been living in." "So what are you saying?" Alexis's voice was dangerously quiet. Marcus felt something crack inside his chest. "I'm saying maybe we need to step back, give you space to handle your board, give me space to protect Emma. Maybe we rushed into this without thinking through the consequences." "That's what people always do," Alexis said bitterly. "They say they're okay with who I am, with my life, and then the moment it gets hard, they run. My ex-fiancé did the same thing, couldn't handle the pressure, the spotlight, the expectations. I thought you were stronger than that." "This isn't about strength," Marcus said, his own anger rising. "This is about being responsible. I have a daughter who depends on me. I can't be selfish." "Right, because caring about me is selfish?" Alexis turned away, her shoulders rigid. "Maybe you should go." Marcus wanted to argue, to find the words that would fix this, but the weight of the past weeks, the stares, the comments, the growing realization of just how different their lives were, pressed down on him. "Yeah," he said finally. "Maybe I should." He left the penthouse, and with each step toward the elevator, he felt like he was leaving a piece of himself behind. But he'd made the right choice. He had to believe that. For Emma, for Alexis's career, for both of them. The elevator doors closed, and Marcus leaned against the wall, wondering why doing the right thing felt like making the biggest mistake of his life.
2 weeks of silence felt like 2 years. Marcus threw himself into work, picking up extra shifts to avoid the empty hours when he might think about Alexis. Emma noticed his distraction, asking questions he deflected with practiced ease. His mother cornered him one evening when she dropped Emma off. "You look terrible, Marcus. What happened with that woman you were seeing?" "It didn't work out, Ma. Different worlds." His mother gave him the look she'd perfected when he was 16 and trying to lie about sneaking out. "Different worlds didn't seem to matter when you were happy for the first time in years." Meanwhile, Alexis faced her own reckoning. The board meeting was brutal. Gerald led the charge, arguing that her relationship with an inappropriate partner showed poor judgment and was affecting the company's image. Stock prices had dipped slightly after the Page 6 article, and investors were nervous. "I move that we remove Alexis Reeves as CEO effective immediately," Gerald said, his voice full of false regret. "It's nothing personal, Alexis. We simply need leadership that prioritizes the company above all else." Alexis stood, her hands gripping the edge of the conference table. For weeks, she'd been preparing to defend herself with facts and figures, to prove her relationship didn't affect her performance. But standing there, facing the people ready to strip away everything she'd built, she realized something. "You're right, Gerald," she said quietly. The room went still. "I'm sorry?" "You're right that leadership requires prioritizing what matters, but you're wrong about what that is." Alexis straightened,
feeling the weight of her father's legacy and her own truth. My father built this company because he believed technology should serve humanity, not the other way around. He wanted to help people, to make their lives better. Alexis, this isn't, Gerald started, but she cut him off. I'm not finished. For the past 2 months, I've been in a relationship with a man who embodies everything this company claims to stand for. Marcus Chen spends his days saving lives, often at great personal cost. He's raising his daughter alone, working double shifts, sacrificing his own needs for others. He's brilliant, kind, and brave, the kind of person who steps into danger to help a stranger without thinking about the cost. She looked around the room, meeting each board member's eyes. And when our relationship became complicated, when it threatened to affect me professionally, he walked away. Not because he didn't care, but because he cared too much. He put my career and my daughter's well-being above his own happiness. That's the kind of integrity I want in my life. This is all very touching, Gerald said dryly, but it doesn't address the company's concerns. Then let me be clear. I won't apologize for loving someone who makes me a better person. I won't hide my relationship to satisfy outdated notions of propriety. And if you want to remove me as CEO for that, go ahead and vote. But know that you'll be proving that this company values appearance over substance, conformity over character. Alexis gathered her materials. My father would be ashamed. I know I am. The vote is yours to take. She walked out, her heart pounding, unsure if she'd just saved her career or destroyed it. But for the first time in weeks, she could breathe. That evening, Alexis showed up at Marcus's apartment unannounced. He opened the door in sweatpants and a faded t-shirt, Emma visible behind him watching TV. Alexis? His voice was cautious, surprised. Can we talk? Emma bounced over, curious. Are you Dad's friend? I hope so, Alexis said, kneeling to Emma's level. I'm Alexis. Your dad told me you're an amazing soccer player. Emma beamed. I scored 2 goals last game. Do you like soccer? I love soccer, and I heard you have excellent taste in teams. The easy interaction between Alexis and his daughter did something to Marcus's resolve. Emma, can you give us a minute? When Emma retreated reluctantly to her room, Marcus turned to Alexis. What are you doing here? I quit. Or I will be fired. The board is voting tomorrow. Either way, I made my choice. What choice? You. Us. This. Alexis stepped closer. I told my board that I'm in love with a man who makes me want to be better, who reminds me why I do this work in the first place. I told them that if they couldn't accept that, they could find a new CEO. Marcus's heart hammered. You did what? Alexis, your company. Will survive with or without me. But I won't survive without you. These past 2 weeks have been hell, Marcus, and I realized something. We were both so busy trying to protect each other from the complications that we forgot the whole point, which is that life is complicated. Love is complicated, but walking away from something real to avoid difficulty isn't courage, it's cowardice, and you taught me about real courage that night in the street. I don't care if my board fires me. I don't care what Page 6 writes or what people say. I care about you and about being the kind of person who fights for what matters. If you'll have me, if it's not too late. Marcus felt tears prick his eyes. I thought I was protecting you and Emma. I know, but Emma needs to see her father happy, and I need you to believe that we can handle whatever comes together. What about your company, everything you've worked for? Alexis smiled. The board voted an hour ago. I'm still CEO. Turns out, when you stand up for your principles, sometimes people respect that. Gerald abstained, but the others voted to keep me. Said it showed integrity. Marcus laughed, the sound breaking through weeks of tension. You're incredible, you know that? I know, and you're an idiot for thinking I'd let you go that easily. He pulled her close, kissing her like he'd wanted to for 2 weeks, like she was oxygen and he'd been drowning. When they broke apart, Emma was standing in the hallway grinning. Does this mean Alexis is your girlfriend now, Dad? Marcus looked at Alexis, who nodded. Yeah, Em, if she'll put up with us. Awesome! Emma ran over, hugging them both. Can she come to my game on Saturday? I wouldn't miss it, and she meant it. As the 3 of them settled on the couch, Emma chattering about their team's chances, Marcus felt the pieces of his life clicking into place. It wouldn't always be easy. Different worlds, complicated schedules, a demanding board, and a daughter to consider, but they'd face it together. Because courage, he'd learned, wasn't about avoiding difficulty. It was about choosing what mattered and fighting for it, no matter the cost. And this makeshift family forming on his second-hand couch mattered more than anything else in the world.
If this story touched your heart, smash that subscribe button and join Drew Daily Stories. Drop a comment with your favorite moment. New inspiring stories drop every week. Don't miss out.